And hello, men of Marist. I'm here to give you a quick hint, I suppose, at putting together the dictionary for the chapter on solids. Here I've got a range of objects that you might find at home, and I'm going to just very quickly go through them. I'm using my iPad to video this, so excuse the shakiness if we get to that. But we start with the regular sort of shapes that you see, and the easiest one to find is, of course, a box. And we call that a rectangular prism. Okay, it's rectangular because it's got a rectangular base. It's a prism because if we cut it at any point through the middle, we get the same shape. So here's something that looks pretty much like a rectangular prism. Obviously, I'm not worried about the edges here. If you put this into your dictionary, I'd be reasonably happy with this. Okay, and if I have a look at it from the top, okay, it's almost, if you measured it, it might be a square, but it's pretty much a rectangular prism. It actually fails the test because if we have a look at it from this angle here, hopefully what you can see is that these lines, the edges here, actually face slightly outwards. So the bottom of this shape is slightly narrower than the top, which means if I slice it down here, and if I slice it across up here, just there, I get slightly different sized rectangles. This is not a proper rectangular prism, but this is, and this is a little box, it's just a little cardboard box, so you should be able to find anything like that, where if I hold it this way, if I turn it up like that, and obviously like that, any of those directions, that is a proper rectangular prism. Okay, so let's get rid of those. Gone. Next easiest I think you'll find is a cylinder. Okay, what makes a cylinder? Well, from the top we have a circle, and this shape actually has the same diameter of circle at the top and the bottom of this jar, and of course it's round. If we were to cut this piece of plastic and open it up, it would look like a rectangle. And if I slice it anywhere along here, then I have a regular shape. It's always a circle. Of course, if I'm slicing it downwards like this, then it's irregular. So we don't consider it like that. So the cross section is going across the circle, and that's a cylinder, right? Now, a variation of a cylinder, I've got two things here that are variations of a cylinder. And one is the old 10-cent coin. Okay, just because it's very, very flat doesn't mean it's not a cylinder. It's round, it has a height, so it is a cylinder. This thing here is a roll of tape. It's also a cylinder, but it's a cylinder with a hole in it. And in fact, when you've got a circle on the outside and a circle on the inside, which is empty, we call this shape an annulus. Okay, an annulus. But if I was trying to find, say, the surface area, well, it's the circle, the big circle, minus the small circle. And that's true of both surface area and volume. But that's also like a cylinder, but it's obviously not whole. Now, the last two shapes I'll get you to think about are things that are much more difficult to find. And let's start with this shape here. Okay, now, although it might be a little bit difficult to find or observe, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is an octagon in 2 dimensions, and this is about as close as you are realistically going to get to an octagonal prism. So let's have a look at it from the bottom. Okay, now it happens to be just a container of what used to be dip. Now, it's not a perfect octagonal prism, but if you include this in your dictionary, I'd be quite happy with this, but you need to provide some explanation. So the explanation might go like this. We have an octagon on the top with straight sides down the bottom, and we just need to ignore this circular bit there because clearly that's not octagonal, but on the whole, it's pretty much an octagonal prism because we've got straight edges. We've got 8 of them, and if I actually chopped this circular bit off and put the lid from there on there, it would almost be an octagonal prism. Like the bigger cheese container we saw earlier, this one also though has sides or edges that actually are not perpendicular, they just angle out a little bit. So if I slice it down the bottom here, or I slice it up the top here, I get slightly different sized octagons. But, in terms of finding an octagonal prism in your home, this would be just about as close as you can get. And as long as you explain why it's not a perfect octagonal prism, I'd be happy with that. And the last example is a similar thing. Here we have another, it's a chocolate container. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6-sided shape, hexagon. Okay, I turn it up, and most of this thing, these edges are actually perpendicular to the ground. If we just turn it that way, so we actually have a good edge. So this whole thing up to about there is a perfect hexagonal prism. Of course, the lid and stuff then changes the shape. But again, if you say to me in your dictionary, this is an hexagonal prism up to there, because if I slice it anywhere through there, I get a hexagon, then I reckon we'd be pretty happy with that. Unfortunately, I haven't got any pyramids that I can show you. That's about the only other shape, or a cone. I haven't got a cone to show you, but I think they're easier to find than some of these octagonal and hexagonal prisms. Good luck. I hope you enjoy producing a little dictionary of photos.